I had to talk to a franchisee the other day, and she was just like, swamped and was kind of in a whirlwind. And like, I was like, well, have you like talked to Alan and the team? And she's like, no, not really. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? I was like, well, do
You
that.
have to.
Like,
Yeah,
Alan
you
loves
gotta.
you. I was like, he wants you to be successful. But if he thinks you're just, happy as a clam over there, like they won't know. So you can't be afraid to ask for help.
Yo, 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 this is the Streetwise podcast, where we help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant, which means I help people find, launch, and build their ideal franchise business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready. Let's go. Yeah, dude, this is gonna be fun. All right, Streetwise Nation, we got Spike Albrecht with us today. Spike, how you doing, bro?
I'm great, man. I'm looking forward to this. It's been a long time coming, so I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Dude, I can't believe we finally did it. Like
Yeah.
we've been going back and forth on this thing since the franchise conference back in January.
Life is busy, man. It's like, we got it on the books and then we had to keep rescheduling. So I appreciate you making it work, though.
Yeah, no doubt. Life be life. And no, I
Hmm.
appreciate you for making the time to come on. So, all right, man, you and I met franchise conference. You're representing Art of Drawers, pretty cool franchise brand that
Yep.
I like quite
Hmm.
a bit.
Yep.
But I'm interested in you too, man. So first thing I want to know, like, who are you? Like, what's your family setup? Where'd you come from? Just give us like a quick backstory of your origin, real quick.
Yeah, for sure, man. So grew up in Northwest Indiana. I'm from Crown Point, about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. So
There
born
we
and
go.
raised, yeah, man. Born and raised here in the Midwest, but two older brothers, a younger sister. My whole family we're sports junkies. We're basketball nuts. So grew up playing basketball, middle school, high school. Was fortunate enough to end up playing in college. So I spent 4 years at the University of Michigan, um, and then did a fifth year at Purdue University. So I had two unbelievable college experiences playing for two different Big Ten schools.
Man.
It was quite a ride, quite an experience. And then I coached for like the last 4 or 5 years, and then transitioned out of the basketball world into the business world, which was hard. And for anybody, I know you work out a lot and play sports, but like that transition when it's really all you've ever done or all you've ever known, can be a little bit difficult and a little bit scary. Because I knew I was good at basketball and coaching, so you just kind of like naturally gravitate towards it. But I wanted something different. I wanted something more, and fortunately, I kind of stumbled into franchising about a year and a half ago. So I'm with the Repham Group, and I head up development for Art of Drawers, and it's been an awesome experience, man. This is a really cool industry, and lots of good people in the franchise world as well.
Man, no doubt, bro. And there's a lot of things that you just said that I resonate with. I'm curious, how did you manage that identity shift when, because I was an athlete, played
Yeah,
college football, ran college track. You did it at a much higher level than I did. So before we get into
yeah.
that, what was it like playing for a big D1 school, man? What
It
experiences? What was that like?
it was awesome, and
Yeah.
we were so spoiled, by the way. Like division college athletes, Division 1, like you work hard, like you sacrifice a lot. I mean, I I miss Christmas, Thanksgiving, like I miss birthdays, holidays, all that
Yeah.
for 5-6 years, but it was 100% worth it. And for me, like my story was a little bit unique because I wasn't some big time recruit. I'm 6 foot, 165 pounds, so like I wasn't the highest ranked guy coming out of high school. I actually didn't have a single Division 1 offer, and then fortunately, Coach Beeline saw something in me and gave me a chance. But it was a great experience. I mean, I think obviously I was fortunate to get school paid for and come out debt free.
That's
But
beautiful.
ate like a king. We traveled first class, so like my college experience was awesome. I'm blessed for sure.
What was the biggest highlight of that experience? I mean, I know it was awesome. And that's something I always dreamed of as a kid. I got to play, college football at a Division 3 level, but man,
Yeah,
Division 1. What was the highlight of that experience? Any
man.
one moment that you'll never forget?
Well, I think it's perfect timing with March Madness going on.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough. I played in 4 different March Madness tournaments, um,
Whoa,
which was
no
pretty
way.
cool. Pretty cool. And My freshman year, actually, we went to the national championship. So I got to play on Monday night, which will be coming up here soon. So it's pretty hard to top that one. I was able
Oh,
to
dude.
say I played in a pretty important game, and I was okay. I had a lot of really good players around me and on my team.
Yeah.
And I was just fortunate enough to get the opportunity and take advantage of the moments when I did play.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Okay, back to my question before I had to get that from you though.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man. What a cool experience. How did you pivot when it came to your identity in being a athlete transitioning to a coach? I know that's hard in and of itself
yeah,
when, cuz you're told, I mean, you're done, right? Like if you're
for
not
sure.
going to the NBA or playing in another professional league, like it's over. You got to figure
Yeah,
something out.
yeah.
So a lot of guys go into coaching. I went into coaching and
Okay.
then transitioned into business similar to
Yeah,
you. But that identity shift, how did you manage that? Was that difficult? Was there anything that kind of
yeah.
helped you through it?
Yeah, it was, I mean, for sure difficult. Like transitioning into coaching, I felt like was easy,
Okay.
because like I knew basketball and
Love for the
um, love
game.
for the game, right? I was super passionate about it. Like, so that came easy to me. But I will say I did it for 4 or 5 years. And honestly, I did it because I was like, well, I don't really know what else to do. And I was like, everybody was like, you were a really good basketball player. You're a smart player. You should coach. I was like, okay, sure. I obviously had an in, but I quickly realized, and I was grateful for the opportunities, but I quickly realized that I didn't like coaching and everything that came with it as much as I did playing. Like I love playing because it got those competitive juices flowing. I felt like I was in control, and coaching, man, like coaching a bunch of 18 to 22-year-old kids. We were them, a long
Yeah.
time ago. Dude, it was like the most stressful thing ever. I felt like I had no control, and like, you know, your livelihood is dependent on them. And they're all, there's a lot
Wow.
of really great kids. But for me, I just didn't get that same juice and energy from playing. So and you know what? Another big part of it was I'm really close with my family. Like that, I started to look at what do I value, and I value my time with my family and friends, and being able, if I want to go do something on the weekend, or go visit some friends or go on a vacation. College basketball is 365. It's 24/7,
Yeah. It's a
365,
long season, man.
and it's great. It's an awesome experience, but like I was missing birthdays and weddings and just all sorts of things that I place more value on than coaching. So that's kind of when, the shift in my mind started to take place. And I just started reaching out to some like mentors and, folks I knew from Michigan and Purdue, and just started networking. And that's actually how I found out about franchising and rep them and this whole industry, man. I didn't even know what it was a year and a half ago. I was like, I trust me, like, so when I'm talking to candidates, it's hilarious because I'm like, listen, I was in your shoes a year and a half ago, like trying to figure out the different avenues of franchising. I didn't understand like the development side, the consultant side, franchisee versus franchisor. So I've really gotten like my MBA in franchising this past year and a half, which has been great.
Oh, it's cool, man. So, okay. So facilitating that shift, it seems like the personal side of it played into shifting from a coach to being in franchising.
Hmm.
And you find Repum, you some mentors and some resources, and your network was able to kind of help you get there. What was it like when you first started and kind of ramping up? Obviously, there's a learning curve. Was there anything that you felt like you were behind the eight ball on that you had to pick up pretty quick?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, Repum's great. Like we have an unbelievable process, and you know, I don't want to say I'm very smart, but I'm smart enough to know
Yeah,
that I don't know everything. So
there it is.
I followed the process, which was great. So it set me up for success. Um, but for me, it was, the types of folks I'm dealing with every day are, they're they're super, business savvy, really strong business acumen folks. So like the business side of it, like I understood the process, like the brands, I have an unbelievable memory, like I'm coachable, but it was like starting to handle objections and like learn the ins and outs of the business and like what truly matters and why. Just because I didn't have any experience with that piece of it. So like those first 3 to 6 months, um, I felt like I was drinking through a fire hose, and I was constantly going back to my boss and my VP and our team, and asking questions. And I'm sure I drive her nuts, but she's been great and has helped me tremendously. And honestly, another cool piece of it. Like I'm not afraid to ask for help. So like I'm always trying to, jump on calls and shadow folks. And fortunately we share best practices. But those first 3 to 6 months were difficult for me, like transition from sports. It's a lot different.
Yeah, how is the, year and a half, so first 3 to 6 months to, the next 6 to, 18 or so months?
Yeah.
How has that transition been now that you got your legs under you? Where have you found you've been able to get some momentum in your space?
Yeah. It's been night and day.
Yeah.
Like so much more comfortable. And I'm like the person, I have a horrible poker face. So you could see it. Like I'm not just like a BSer, like a car salesman. Like that is not me. So if I don't know stuff and I'm not prepared, like my whole thing, and this kind of goes back to sports. So I always said that preparation breeds confidence. So
Nice.
if I'm not prepared and I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about, it's really hard for me to like communicate that with conviction and like bring forth that confidence. And some people have it, some people don't. Like I do not. I sell on like education and authenticity and being genuine. So learning the ins and outs of the business and all those different components and understanding, the right questions and what people are looking for in franchise opportunities. It's night and day what I've learned in the last, 9 to 12 months. And it's helped me tremendously in my role.
What's going on, everybody? I hope you're liking the conversation this far. Please take a moment, give it a 5-star review. It really helps spread this out to as many people as possible. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, I bet, no doubt. And there's such an importance too. If you're going to grow, I mean, you got to be vulnerable. You got to humble yourself and put yourself
Oh,
around people that are going to be willing to speak into you. And I love that about franchising because
yeah.
there's so many folks. I mean, I'm in the same. I became a franchise owner of Mosquito Joe when I was 25, 26
Hmm.
years old, almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for those first franchisees that were around me in my space that could mentor
Hmm.
me, I mean, gosh, I just got so much value from
It's
that.
huge. Yeah.
100%. It's huge.
No, for
Okay.
sure.
So tell me a little bit about Rep'em. What is Rep'em? What does the Rep'em group do? What's the
Yeah.
purpose and the mission of the organization?
Yeah. So Rep'em is it's an FSO,
So
we
franchise sales
yeah,
organization.
yeah. We like to say that we're a little bit more than that. So we actually have kind of coined the phrase full service franchise development firm. So
Okay.
most people, and I'm sure just, the average Joe on the street, when they think of franchise sales organization, right, they're just thinking of, right, the sales piece and awarding units and the development side of it.
Sure.
But we have 4 different pillars at Rep'em, which I think kind of differentiates us from some of the other folks. Um, One of them is Brandem. So it's the marketing piece and making sure that all the brands are aligned and everything, looks and feels the same from customer perspective. And then we do have the Grom, which is me. So that's our sales folks. Helping with development. And each one of our brands, we probably have 12 or 13 different brands under our portfolio at Rep'em. Most of them are emerging, similar to Art of Drawers. Each brand has their own director that heads up a brand. I head up Art of Drawers. But the next two, I think, are key in what we do and what we offer from an FSO perspective. And it's Build 'em, which is our construction management real estate piece, and really tackling that for franchisees, bringing them on board. Because as you know, especially with brick and mortar, like it's one thing to go out there and buy the franchise. Like people are super excited about it, but we got to open these on time and hopefully on the right price point.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I didn't know this a year and a half ago, how many franchisees don't open their locations. It's that old term snow. I didn't know what the heck that was. Um, but it's crazy to me. So we handle a lot there with the real estate construction management piece, and then scale them. That's our fourth pillar, and that honestly is a lot of that work is done on the front end with our team vetting these brands and taking them through a very extensive due diligence process to make sure that they have the right pieces in place to become a successful franchisor. Because there's a lot of great brands out there, cool concepts, good founders, but not every brand is meant to franchise. So we do, a 3 to 6 month deep dive with these brands, with these companies, making sure that they have the right systems and processes in place. Their founders, are dialed in, the strong unit economics, it's profitable. Do they understand their customer? All those sorts of things. So there's a lot of work that goes into it on the front end. And that's why we feel really good about the brands that we bring into our portfolio.
Oh, it's cool. So you kind of alluded onto it a little bit, but I want to dive in just because I had this conversation with the franchise candidate yesterday, and
Mhm.
he's looking at, could I buy a business off of Biz Buy Sell? Should I look into franchising? The fear that he had with the franchise concept was, what's to keep somebody that just has their own business and decides one day that they want to franchise it? What's to keep them from just deciding, okay, now I'm going to franchise it? And for him to be able to decipher between the quality franchise brands and the ones that just decided one day to franchise and now they're selling franchise
Mhm.
opportunities across the country. Maybe speak into a little bit more about what your process is when you're looking at a concept that you're
Yeah.
bringing on, and the difficulty. It's not easy to become a Rep'em brand. You guys validate these guys, and there's a lot that goes into it. So maybe let's dive in a little bit there.
Yeah. So I think, it starts with the founder for sure. Do they understand franchising? Do they know what it takes to grow and scale and how to do that responsibly and support the growth of franchisees? Like, so not to, queue up Art of Drawers, but for me, it's huge. It's made my life a lot easier because Alan has an extensive background in franchising and a history of success. That's super important. But also the unit economics, like it has to have strong unit economics, not just from a corporate location, but right, is there a track record as you start to build out your franchisees? Is this something that's replicable and repeatable and scalable? And then the systems and processes are huge, right? Like having the technology platform, the CRMs, all those sorts of things that go into setting up a successful franchise system. That all has to be scalable. But I think with franchising in particular, and you're talking about your candidate with like biz buy sell versus franchise. One of the best parts is as you get up and running, like you're buying into a proven system and playbook where you know everybody makes mistakes along the way, especially in those first couple years, right?
Oh yeah.
So like they've already done that. Most of these guys have spent over a decade in their space making the mistakes, building out the systems and processes so that you don't have to. Obviously, there is that's where royalties come in, so there is a little kicker there. But to me, it's worth it, right? But also, you have a team around you of other franchisees who are going through the same stuff where you're not operating on your own little island. Like you have people who are in it with you and can share best practices. And I think that is another huge piece of franchising, the support system that helps.
Oh, I love that, dude. And the best way to grow, in my opinion, is to get into rooms where people are better than you, and
Yeah.
or that can add value into you. And franchising, when I think of the royalty, you're paying, or the fees and whatnot, you're
Hmm.
paying for, yes, you're paying for the blueprint, you're
For
paying for
sure.
the support, but you're also paying for access to
Yeah.
the entire franchise system. I can call up the founder of an organization that I'm a part of. I can call successful franchisees that make 5, 10x more money than I make on
Yeah.
another side of the country, and they will take my call because
Hmm.
we're in the same system.
Yeah.
Where you're not going to get that in BizBuy. So you can't just
Yeah.
randomly reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and
No.
expect them to take your call,
Yeah.
but through franchising you can. So that's good stuff, bro.
For sure.
Also, perfect time to transition and plug Art of Drawers. So,
Yeah.
me being a new consultant, I like Art of Drawers, but I don't know that much about it. Tell
Yeah.
me about the system. I think a lot of people, when they think franchising, they think fast food, and it's a
For sure.
huge, I bear the cross of explaining to
Yeah.
people that no, franchising is so much more than fast food. And so I might bring to a candidate a concept like Art of Drawers, and it completely blows their mind because they never even thought that this was a potential option to franchise this kind of a business. So
For
maybe
sure.
tell me, whatever you want, back history, whenever you do an intro call
Yeah.
with the candidate, let's go through that
Here's
right now.
here's
What are you
here's
talking
my
about?
here's my pitch, dude. Let's do it
Yeah,
live.
come on.
Yeah. No, so well, first off, so Art of Drawers, it's in the home service space. So
Yeah,
which is a great space as you know, I know you've got a couple home
yeah.
service brands
Love
and
home service.
for sure. But yeah, we specialize in custom pull-out drawers for kitchens, pantries, bathrooms. We also do cabinet refacing and cabinet lighting. So think just like interior design, home decor, those sorts of things, right? But the really interesting and unique thing about Art of Drawers is the founder and his background. So Alan Young, because we're an emerging brand, right? Like we only have at this point, like we have eight franchise partners. We just started in September. So I think we have 24, 27 units.
Oh, nice.
So it's a unique opportunity to get in early. But sometimes people are like, okay, you kind of want to wait and see. That can be a little bit scary. But the cool thing about Art of Drawers is the founder, this is kind of his 2.0 version. Like he's already built a very successful franchise brand, grew it to over 200 locations. That was from 2008 to 2020. So as you know, like there is not a lot of brands that reach that 100 unit, 200 unit mark. Right? Like that is rare air in the franchise space. So the fact that he did that, obviously it shows proof of concept. He's a proven founder. But most importantly, he did it responsibly, and he knows how to grow and scale and support the success of franchisees, which it's one thing to get in early, but like if these people don't know what the heck they're doing, that can be, a terrifying feeling. So Alan's been great to work with. We're growing. We're excited. He has all the systems and processes. He basically took from his previous company to, from the call center to the tech package. But it's been great, man. We're plugging along for sure.
What's like an ideal avatar for a franchise candidate? And I say that, and I know that franchise candidates come from all different walks of life. But
Yep.
when you're looking at somebody and you're, validating them, because you're not just selling, you're trying to award this to somebody that fits.
For sure.
What is it that you're looking for in a franchise candidate that might differ from a different concept?
Yeah, no doubt. Because we're pretty selective early on, and like want to make sure we're bringing on the right people, because as you know, like that will eliminate headaches later on.
Oh yeah.
So we're definitely more like owner operator. I know a lot of folks, right? They're talking with brand. You hear absentee, right? That is not us. Like we're looking for people who want to be in the business day to day. Now they're not necessarily like the ones going in and doing installs, and you're not building the drawers or driving the trucks and stuff like that. For us, it's a team building role. So like we're looking for folks with leadership experience, connectors, people who want to build teams, because so the model itself is a pretty simple model. It's a great business concept, but like really you're just building a team of designers and installers. They're both 1099, so you're not dealing with full-time employees. We do the 1099 commission-based model. But you have to be willing to build a great team and get out and recruit. We assist with some of the recruiting and training, but like we handle probably 80% of the operational components. So if you're someone who wants to put your nose into a spreadsheet all day and try to figure out operational challenges, like this is not the right role for you. Like we call it an empire builder model for a reason. Everyone so far is, it's definitely a multi-unit play. Everyone's doing 3 or more. So we want people to focus on building great teams, driving sales, getting out in their community. As you know, like I see you attend events in Chamber of Commerce, networking, stuff like that all the time. Like that's what we're looking for. We want people who are going to be that brand ambassador in their community and get out and promote the business and build a great team.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchise. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, that's huge. I probably attend 3 to 4 networking community events per week.
Yeah,
I'm out there, doing doing follow-ups and face-to-faces with individuals it's tough because, to dive deep into the whole networking thing, a lot of people will network and they expect an immediate ROI, and
Yeah,
it just doesn't work like that. You have to build these relationships. It takes time. People
for
do
sure.
business with those that they know, they like, and they trust, and you got to
Yeah,
build that trust over time. Yeah, not everybody's going to be willing to get out there and be in the community, but it's super important. The whole empire builder concept. What does that actually look like for a franchise candidate who is, maybe they've got a 9 to 5 right now, and
yeah.
they're, you know, they've never even owned a business before. Like, what do you mean when you say empire builder?
Yeah, it's just, people with that growth mindset, like looking at multi-units. Because I think for us versus like other home service brands, now I'll just full transparency, like ours would be difficult to keep your 9 to 5. And
Because you've got to be in the business.
yeah,
You got to work in it. And something that I always say, there's a difference between working in your business and working on your business, but
yeah,
you're still working the business. And I think a
yeah,
lot of people, when they think semi-absentee, they don't have to work the business.
yeah. It's like,
And that's just
this
not
isn't this,
true.
yeah, this ain't the stock market. Like,
Yeah, it's not
you
the
know,
stock market. It's not passive. But even as an
mhm.
owner operator, you're going to have to
Yeah,
be even more hands-on, and grow this thing, especially in the beginning before you
yeah,
can build up the team.
yeah.
So yeah,
So,
empire builder. Yeah, what does that look
yeah.
like for some of these guys?
Well, I'll just say too, like, because you were kind of talking about being that in the business, like we get a lot of husband wife duos in our
Okay.
space. Just because someone kind of gravitates toward. I'm not going to stereotype or make assumptions, but right, it's like design. So we do get a lot of husband wife duos early on,
Nice.
where one of them's going to be dedicated full time, and then maybe the husband or wife is more supporting. Um,
Yeah,
behind the
sure.
scenes, because right, they both have strengths and weaknesses that they can bring to the business. But yeah, the empire builder model, like that growth mindset, building a great team. Basically, what if you look at our item 7? So like for three territories, you're looking at anywhere from like 190 to 230 range, all in, which is pretty good for a service brand. And our footprint's pretty big. Like you're getting 375,000 total pop, 150,000
Okay.
households.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you get a big footprint for 3 territories. But the empire builders, we don't want people to, get to a million in revenue, like the item 19, get to a million in revenue and kind of just get comfortable, right? Because like
Okay.
everybody has a number where, whatever it is, if it's 152, whatever it is, like some are going to be a little higher, some are going to be lower, but
Yeah.
we're not looking for folks who want to just kind of get to that number and just put it on cruise control and just kind of coast. Like we're wanting folks who are going to continue to grow and build that team. And I think that's why we've been selective about who we've been bringing on early, and why we're really only starting with multi-units, because we want people who have that growth mindset, who want to look at 2, 3, 4 territories, and do 1, 2, 3 million in revenue, which is definitely attainable. But like you got to be willing to get out there and build a team, and that's where the whole element of like spending more time on the business rather than in it. Like early on, right? You're in it, just to get up and running, to ramp. But as you grow and scale, like keep building that team and keep growing.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like in service, specifically home services, having one territory can sometimes limit yourself because you need a
Yeah,
bigger demographic and geographic space in order to, but you can't have too big of a footprint because then you
yeah,
get diluted. In Mosquito Joe, at one point we had 6 territories, and
yeah,
it was just, we could have built all 6 of those, but because of our personal life setup, I mean, I'm popping out kids,
yeah, yeah,
growing the family, we're adding other businesses and pivoting for the health of that business. For us, we found that the 2 to 4 territory range
yeah,
is kind of our sweet spot. And I
for
find
sure.
that with brick and mortar locations, one unit might eventually be able to replace a salary
Yeah,
eventually, but you're really not building something that's creating this life-changing wealth unless you're,
yeah,
going bigger. And I think having that expectation early is super important.
yeah.
also, I think maybe speaking to some of these franchisees, man, they expect that they're going to replace their salary in like 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's just it's not realistic, is it? You
no,
think?
no, and I'll tell you, like you mentioned, brick and mortar. Obviously, that's a whole different animal. Um, I mean, with us, like we definitely get up and running quicker, right? Like there's not a
Okay.
whole lot to our business. Like you're on board and through training. Um, Realistically, you can be running design appointments and like booking appointments, getting sales within 30 to 60 days. So like there is an opportunity to cash flow quickly. But yeah, I mean, to think you're going to have a full ROI in 6 months, and I mean that's just not realistic. And I tell people all the time because I hear some of the crazy things that they throw out there in terms of like when they're expecting, to break even or what they're expecting these margins to be. And I'm like, hey, dude, if you find that business, you call me back because I will
Let's go.
come and do that with you.
Yeah, let's
Because I'm
go.
like, I was like, this is like one of the I'm like, it's mind boggling to me. But yeah, I think with Art of Drawers, like we definitely get up and running quickly. In terms of ROI and break even and stuff. We'll just kind of see where our franchisees are at. They're only like 6 months in right now, so
Okay,
and they're not
cool.
they're not they're not full ROI. I know that, so
Yeah, and no, it's important to set the right expectation.
for
If
sure.
you want the right people to come in order to
Yeah,
do that, you have to close the door to people that they don't fit the right expectation model,
yeah,
right? And it's
absolutely.
important to curate that. And I think where franchising goes wrong is when on the franchisor side, you get greedy and you
For
just let
sure.
anybody in to start collecting those fees so you can build the system on the back end, but you're hurting the franchisees that are coming in because you didn't bring in the right folks to begin with.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
about so these franchisees, you find the right person, they're well capitalized, they love the brand, they love kind of the lifestyle that the brand presents for them and the
Yeah.
opportunity that's there, and they start to scale. Initially, they're working in the business, and they could
Hmm.
fall under a couple different roles. What I hear is mainly development and then managing your people and the
Yeah.
team. What does the team look like when you start to scale it out? Like, what do you start with specifically? And then when you're, 18 months in and you're starting to move and you're making
Yeah.
money, what does the team look like then and how does it change?
Absolutely. So early on, you got to go out and get a couple designers and installers, right? Like,
Okay.
the
And they're
process.
1099,
Designer
like you
goes out,
said.
and does the in-home consultation. So like typical backgrounds we're looking for designers, because they're in the home an hour and a half, 2 hours, customer facing. We're looking for like realtors, professional organizers, interior designers, stay-at-home moms make great designers because it's a flex schedule. Like we're tapping into that gig economy. So they create their own hours. They make good money on commission. Early on, some of our owners, they'll run some of those design appointments, particularly my female owners. So that's kind of where the husband wife duos come in, because as you're building out your team, um, you're going to want to know what the heck you're doing, right? It's going to help you coach and train them up, right? It's going to help with recruiting and speaking
So you
that
need to know
language.
enough to be dangerous,
Yeah.
essentially, as a franchise owner, but you don't necessarily have to be an expert in
No,
the
no,
designing
no,
space.
no.
You guys aren't really looking for that.
No, I mean, I've got owners who are former consultants, engineers, like no one's from this space, really.
Yeah.
Um, they go through an extensive training. They come out to Atlanta for 5 days of training,
Okay.
and they'll learn, all the different products and services and everything they need, in order to go into homes and map out a custom solution of someone's space. But like the role is meant to, those first 3 to 6 months, you're kind of getting your feet wet, learning the business, building out your team, right? Go get a couple good designers. You need 2 or 3 early on. But the role, once you're like fully ramped, you're a year and a half in, year and a half, right? The role is more of like a mentoring and coaching role where you should by then
Okay.
have 4 or 5 good designers. A lot of people I think will still, run some design appointments just because they're probably going to like it and they'll be good at it. But that's kind of where like that whole growth mindset and scaling comes into place. It's very difficult to scale if you're running all the appointments, right? So like, and sure,
Amen.
you may be really good at it. You may have a higher close rate than so-and-so, but it's like, you're never going to be able to get out of the business at that point. So, the sooner you can get up and build a great team and have that infrastructure in place, like the easier it will be to step away and like go do things with your family, because we can approve orders, like we can handle all that for you. So then it's more so just going to be, managing the team and, tracking KPIs and, attending home shows here and there. But like we don't want folks who are just buying a job and want to go do design appointments all day, every day.
Yeah, you gotta have the mindset, and it talks about in the E-Myth when a lot of these people get entrepreneurial seizures, and I want to leave I hate my 9 to 5. I want to leave. I want to start my own business, and they find their way into franchising. And a model like this that allows them to kind of fit the quote unquote technician role initially. They develop a lot of identity there, and they get stuck. Where in the E-Myth, again, it talks about going from technician evolving to the manager, where you're hiring the folks and you're over them, you're helping them out, empowering them. Then you become the true entrepreneur, where you've got managers managing your managers, and you're rocking.
For sure.
So, okay, I see it couldn't be that hard with this model to find installers, because you're just subbing a lot of this stuff out. I would see 1099 for the most part. The designers, though, do these people, you kind of listed out a minute ago who these people were, but do they have to come from this space to be able to sell, but also do the design, kind of like consulting on the space and their, maybe the colors and all that stuff? I wouldn't be able to do it. Is there training for them, or do they already have to be, they have to come with some sort of knowledge?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Like obviously, if you can find someone who's a professional organizer, interior designer, like it wouldn't hurt, right?
Sure.
But we get a lot of stay-at-home moms, teachers in the summer, like people who don't have this background, because there is training in place, right? Like we have the learning management system, coursework. They have to get certified and run practice appointments. So they'll work with the franchise owner and then with our chief marketing officer in Atlanta and go through like the design kit and all the different products and services. So they can definitely do it. But I'm with you. Like I would be a horrible designer. That's just not my forte. And that's honestly like a lot of my male owners that we brought on.
Yeah.
They're the same way. They're like, hey, I can build a great team. I can manage, I can recruit. And, it may be a little bit slower, burn early on because they can't go and do these appointments, but they're playing the long-term game.
Yep.
Like I have a guy out in Connecticut right now, and he's building a team. Like he's like, I'm finding the best of the best, so that way he can kind of just step back and oversee it and coach and train in that. But he knows the products and services, so he can speak that language, right? And he can get out there and get some business referrals and network and connect with folks. But he's like, I do not want to be the guy in the house doing these. And I was like, hey brother, like I get it. I'll be right there with you. So it's kind of cool. Like we get both sides of it.
No, I like that. Yeah. And as an owner, when I talk to these guys that are looking at it, we already said it, you gotta know enough to be dangerous.
For sure.
And there's so much value in the first 6 to 18 months, getting your hands deep in to the business, elbow deep. So you can then, Mosquito Joe, for example, I tell every single person that walks in the door now, even though I haven't personally done a mosquito treatment in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
There's not a single mistake that they could make that I haven't already made, right? I've sprayed the wrong house. I've let a dog out of a backyard before. I've wrecked a van. I've killed, fish or animals or,
where's he going with this one?
That actually wasn't a good story. That wasn't fun. That was back in 20. Turns out pesticide and koi ponds do not really work well together. But the point is, I made just about every mistake in the book that one could make in running this business. And so for these guys, I now understand when they make a mistake, and I can empathize with them, and I know how to navigate through the BS and what's real. I can see if I look into their eyes what they're actually going through on a day-to-day basis, because I've done it, and there's a ton of value in that.
Ton of credibility too.
And it's important for new franchise owners to not sleep on that. So no, good stuff, man. Good stuff. What's been some of the things that, I know you guys are early, you're just really getting launched. What have been some things that have been real struggles for the new franchise owners that are in the system that you see them kind of working and grinding through now, but they're starting to overcome?
Yeah, I think early on, the recruiting piece, people are always a little bit
They've
worried
probably
about.
never done it before.
Yeah, right. And like I tell people this because first of all, and I don't know how it is with your franchises and other brands, but we don't tell people who to hire and fire, right? Like we
Right.
we we can assist with that and like be involved in the vetting process, but like some people, you know, again, like particularly my female owners, they're a little bit worried about finding installers, right? Because it's
Sure.
a little bit more blue collar and
Yeah.
types of people we look might be a little bit more, rough around the edges. So like that's something that I feel like people just kind of had to get over that hurdle. And it's like, hey, no, there's a lot of great installers out there. There's a lot of great designers. But people sometimes think about the 1099, get a little bit worried about that, especially in today's climate of finding good people. Do people want to work? Is there enough? Right. But we have a great recruiting source we use called Career Plug. So we can generate a ton of leads and a ton of great candidates. But it's just vetting them and finding the right people who fit our culture. Because a lot of people are going to hit you up. They see a cool job. It's, good pay in a kind of a sexy space, but it's like, are they a culture fit? Are they on board with what we're trying to build? And I think that's what, a lot of our early franchisees would say. Like that was probably their biggest fear coming in is like, hey, how do I find these people? But fortunately, knock on wood, we've been good in that department so far. And I think, most of our franchisees would validate that sometimes it's like the dreading is worse than the doing, right? So
Yeah.
they were scared about it early on, but it's really not that big of a deal. There's a lot of really great people out there that fit our model.
Yeah, it's kind of like the cold plunge. You just gotta
Yeah.
you dip your foot in, man. It's like, oh,
Oh,
no
just
way. But
just
then when
go for it.
you go for it and you
Yeah.
start, you realize how strong you actually are. And you
Hmm.
realize the value that you can add into a situation, even though you might start with some imposter syndrome and
Yeah,
you might be a little
man,
nervous and afraid. But once you get going, there's a reason you're in this position for a reason,
for
and
sure.
you've got the strength to overcome it. And
Yeah.
yeah, shout out Career Plug, man. We use Career
Yeah.
Plug for
Do you?
Mosquito Joe, man. Yeah,
I love it.
we got to get figure out a way to sponsor a Streetwise
Yeah.
podcast, Career Plug, one of
There
these
you go,
days.
man. Just keep
Yeah.
dropping that name, dude. It'll catch
Career
on.
Plug, Career Plug.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt, bro. All right, that's cool, man. You've hit on a couple. Well, you hit on a lot, but I want to go back to something you said early on when you talked about resources and mentorship in your
Yeah.
personal life, and maybe give me an example of how mentorship has really helped you overcome some big obstacles that you've
Yeah.
kind of had to rock with.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm really big on mentorship, and I think you said it earlier of like being vulnerable and reaching out for help. So mentorship's been huge for me. It's helped me with every career decision I've ever made, and a lot of that is in the basketball world. Former coaches of mine, I still stay in touch with them and contact with them, talk to them frequently. But yeah, like I mean, perfect example of franchising. I don't know if you know a guy named John Rachi. Uh, he's with, so if for people listening, like Google John Rachi, played football at Michigan, and him and I just kind of ran in some of the same circles and knew some mutual friends at Michigan. And, we had been friends for the last 3 or 4 years, and that's just through like the power of networking. And he's kind of become a mentor of mine. And obviously he's like a franchise mogul. But he's the one who introduced me to Rep'em, and just constantly like seeking advice and feedback and ways to improve myself and get better. Otherwise I feel like you just kind of get stagnant, and that's not really where I want to be. I feel like if I'm not, like to your point earlier, surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me and who are doing better than me, I'm doing myself a disservice.
I love that. Behind me, I got this book called The Wealthy Franchisee,
Yeah.
and it talks a lot about the mindset of successful franchisees. And it's not just wealth in terms of financial wealth, but wealth in the lifestyle that you can have,
Yep.
your spiritual wealth, your mental wealth. And I'm curious, from your experience in the last, year and a half, what have you seen in the franchising space that makes successful franchisees? But more specifically, what are kind of the character traits of franchisees that struggle?
Yeah, I think people look at franchising, right? And it's like, obviously you're spending a lot of money to buy into a proven system
Oh
and
yeah.
processes, right? And like, so you, especially if you buy into a good brand, you should have a ton of support. Like, you should have folks to lean on. You should have all the systems and processes to set you up for success, right? But there's still work that's involved and work that goes into it. So like, I don't know, just in conversations I've had and I've heard some horror stories and talking with people, like, I'm someone, I think if you're like, if you're doing great, like, I'm giving out credit and complimenting other people for like helping and support me, helping me get there. If things aren't going the way you want them to, whether it's in franchising or business or in life, but like for franchising in particular, like, I try to look deep inside myself, like, what am I doing? Like, how can I get better?
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people kind of play the victim.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of my mindset. But another piece of it, and I tell my franchisees this, especially like once they sign, I'm like, you're buying into, the system, like, reach out to the franchisor for help. If you have questions or if you're struggling with something, and I know you're a franchisee, like, reach out to other franchisees, reach out to the franchisor. Like, I can promise you, nobody wants you to be successful at Art of Drawers more than the Art of Drawers team in Allen Young. So like,
Yeah.
that's what you're paying for. But like, I had to talk to a franchisee the other day, and she was just like swamped and was kind of in a whirlwind. And like, I was like, well, have you like talked to Alan and the team? And she's like, no, not really. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? I was like, well, do that.
You have to. Yeah.
Alan
You
loves
gotta.
you. I was like, he wants you to be successful. But if he thinks you're just, happy as a clam over there, like, they won't know. So it just kind of goes back to like, you can't be afraid to ask for help. So
No, that's a good answer, man. That's a good answer, because a lot of people, their ego is really strong, and
Yeah.
they don't want to be vulnerable, and things could be going really well, and if they are, the franchisor is going to mess with you. They're going to let
Yeah.
you, they're going to do the check-ins and keep doing your thing. They're going to call you when they would like your help in validation, or
Yeah.
they've got a struggling franchisee, maybe you can help this guy out. But for the most part, if you're doing your own thing, they might not know about the struggles
Yeah.
that you have on a personal level. And you got to remember, as a franchisee, that you're coming into this as a partnership. And if you don't want to work alongside the group for whatever reason, maybe there's some
Yeah.
personality stuff, you got to make sure you're doing your part on the beginning and the front
Yeah.
end, that you're with a franchise company that you know, like, and trust, because you're
sure.
setting this up as a partnership. Now, if you're struggling, that's all the more reason to call the franchise,
Yeah.
and to be squeaky wheel gets the grease, man. And
Yeah.
in my experience with Groovy, I did this in a completely different Groovy Hughes. I did it in a completely different way that we started our Mosquito Joe, and that I did build out the team, and I wanted to scale it much quicker.
Yeah.
But I also had to now get my team on the same wavelength of, no, we're partnerships. We're in a partnership with the franchisor.
Yeah.
Those guys are on our team too, and we're paying a hefty fee to
Yeah.
make sure that they support us. So when we're
Mhm.
struggling, we need to have them
Yes.
on the phone. We need to have calls scheduled. We need to be booked out. We need them to know, because it's our business,
Yeah.
right? Like, we have to do everything in our power to make sure
Yeah.
this thing is afloat, and they're there to support us and help
And
us.
they need you to be successful too, especially
They do.
for like an early on brand. Like, our first 10, 15, 20 franchisees are so vital to the success of our system, 2-3 years down the road. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. All right, back to you. You've, young guy,
I
played
don't know, man. Getting
you're
old now,
younger than
man.
me. You're
Yeah.
younger than me, and I can't say that to very many people
Yeah.
that I've had on this podcast, so
Not
I'll give
not
that
in,
to you.
yeah, not in this space. We are definitely the young heads.
Yeah. So, college athlete turned coach, turned development in the franchise space. What do you see next, man? Like, what's Yeah, I like the thing about personal legacy, and I
Yeah.
was recently referred the book The Alchemist, and I
Okay.
had to reread
Hmm.
reread it, and it's big on your own personal legacy and what is it
Yeah.
that you're truly building. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So for me, like probably, I mean, I've been in this role for almost a year and a half, like just trying to learn as much as I can about this space and really just be a sponge and absorb. But the whole reason why I honestly I got into this role, just like full transparency in the dev side, is because I want to be on the other end. Like I want to be,
Oh, let's
I
go.
want to be a franchisee as well. And I've really been big on like my whole life with sports and everything I've learned about, betting on yourself. And that's kind of been like my mantra. And I feel like it's helped get me to where I am today and led to my success in basketball. So that's definitely, don't tell Rep'em that, but at some point I will definitely, be buying a franchise. And I just love everything that comes with it. And obviously the support and stuff, but the lifestyle it can provide. Like I've seen people who I'm like, I think I can do that because I don't think
Yeah,
you're much smarter than me, but like
yeah,
you're building an empire and I want to do that. So
yeah.
that's definitely where I want to get to.
Dude, one of my favorite things to tell people, and I mean this 100%,
Yeah.
if I can do this,
Yeah.
you can do it. And I don't say it to everybody
Hmm.
because it's not like I'm a self-loathing
Yeah.
person. Like
Yeah.
I believe in myself and I believe in what I can do, but I'm not the smartest in the room. I'm not the most business savvy.
Yeah.
I am good with people.
Yep.
I see potential. I consider myself somebody with some integrity, and I have a vision for what I want to build, and I
Yeah.
will do whatever it takes
For
to
sure.
build that vision. But if I can do it, so can you, man.
Yeah.
And so it's cool, dude. I'm excited for you. Have you taken any steps just in like preparing your mind and when it comes to like books, anything that you've read? I mean, you're around franchising all the time, and you're in
Yeah.
the perfect space already. But you do anything extra to kind of prep yourself up yet?
Uh, Honestly, man, I should read more. I'm not a big reader.
Audible, bro. Get
Yeah,
Audible.
I know. Especially I'm always traveling. I
You got
should.
to get Audible.
Um, but no, I've done a little bit of digging and started researching, kind of trying to figure out. And I've learned a lot the last 6 months, trying to figure out like what space I wanted to get into. And
Sure.
I think I've got that nailed down, and I feel pretty good.
Cool. Cool.
So we'll see,
Oh,
man.
good stuff,
But
man. Good stuff. I'll give
yeah,
you E-Myth,
yeah, yeah.
Rocket Fuel. E-Myth
E-Myth
and
rocket
Rocket
fuel.
Fuel.
Okay.
Yeah, if you haven't touched those yet, those are my
Yeah.
two intro
Okay.
guides. No, it's
Like
good
it.
stuff, man. That's really good. I appreciate you. As we wrap this thing up, one question I love to ask everybody, and it'll be interesting coming from you. Talking to folks that are making the biggest decision of their life. You
Yeah.
have this conversation dang near every day, if not all day, every day. How do you coach somebody up to get off of zero? I mean, at some point in basketball, you had to
Yeah.
you had to put yourself out there, and probably nervous. You had to take those extra reps. What do you coach people up to now? Or if you see somebody struggling to take the first step and bet on themselves, how do
Yeah.
you coach that person up?
Yeah. I mean, I think you just gotta do a little bit of soul search and figure out your why, right?
There it
And
is.
kind of always go back to that. And I know you mentioned your family, your little kids, right? Like I'm sure that's what wakes you up and you want to
Yeah, they
be
sure do
supporting.
wake me up. They don't
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
sleep
yeah.
in, man.
Literally and figuratively, right?
Yeah.
Um, but no, like I mean, I talk to people all the time, and it's like, hey, there's a reason you booked this call with me, right? Like
Yep.
something had to happen, right? Like either you're miserable at your job, or you got laid off, or you want more for your family, whether it's money, it's freedom, whatever it is. But and I don't know what their why is, but trying to go back and constantly, figure that out. Because I feel like if the why is there, the motivation's there. Like obviously you're gonna have some fear and some doubt, but you'll be a lot more motivated to get out there and hustle and go after it if there's a strong sense of why.
Oh, love that, bro. Love that, man. Well, you've been a great guest. What did I
Yeah,
miss? Anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't hit on, man? Somebody that was
yeah,
good at this interview thing might have asked you that,
yeah.
I just missed.
No, man. This was great. I felt like we touched on a lot, and I love bringing in like the personal aspect, the business. So it was like good. It wasn't just like rapid fire questions about art of drawers. Like I really enjoyed this, dude. This was great.
Good, man. And like I said when we first got on, it's so important. You got to know, like, and trust
Yeah.
anybody you do business with. And this is the whole point of me, doing this show is, I want to help people get off of zero. I want
Yep.
to introduce them to people that they already have access to in their circle. Now, somebody can listen to this episode, feel connected to you, relate to your backstory, and now feel comfortable
Yeah.
reaching out and having a conversation with you, and
For
you can
sure.
speak into that person, and same with me.
Yep.
So dude, this was awesome. To
Yeah.
the listener, if you're interested in art of drawers, holler at me. I'll get you
Yeah.
connected to him and the team. Let's not
There we
forget
go.
that. But
Yeah.
until next time, man, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.